You're watching Monty TV. I'm Jackie Karsh, sitting down now with Ram Iyer. He's the founder and CEO of Vayana, India's largest network for trade financing. Ram, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Tell me, what does Vayana Network do?
So basically, if you look at trade world over, it's run by supply chains. So you have an auto company that has to secure a lot of parts from suppliers and then sell it through dealers. And everybody wants financing to help the trade to go on. And what Vayana does is provide a platform for financing such trade within the supply chain. And we are the largest platform in India. We've done about $10 billion of financing so far, now running at about $1 billion per month. And what's really interesting is it's a global problem, and we are now in the US trying to play the same role we played in India in the US.
What was the problem with financing before?
It's, so very interesting about B2B trade or business-to-business trade is that it very much functions like credit card. You walk into a restaurant, you pay with your card, there's a merchant who accepts it, and everything just turns out perfectly. That doesn't have the same problem, but doesn't happen so well in the B2B side. There is no concept of a 4-inch plastic. There is no concept of a POS machine.
It would make things very simple.
It would make it very simple, but it is not there, and everybody does things differently. And therefore, how do you kind of digitize that trade so that banks and financial institutions can actually approach it the same way that they approach you when they give you a card? And that's really what Vayana Network solves globally. We are like the MasterCard/Visa of this entire B2B trade. We set up the plumbing for it.
What were the biggest challenges of operating in India and getting businesses in India to sign up?
This is going to sound very strange. India, interestingly, is, very advanced technically, and actually makes it easier to solve than most other countries in the world. And that's the reason for that is that we have a lot of public infrastructure that's been built. Like, for example, in the US, you have Plaid, which kind of aggregates data across banks, and that's a private enterprise. In India, everything is provided by a government-held infrastructure. So it's very easy to kind of springboard on that and then kind of build solutions on top of it. And that's why I would say India has actually been easier to build it out. We are actually finding challenges as we go abroad globally, and irrespective of the country, not finding that same infrastructure. So you almost have to build it from ground up. So it's like the 60s and 70s when the card companies were trying to Bank of America was trying to build the card industry. That's exactly what we're finding ourselves in the US doing right now.
You're targeting the US now. What are the opportunities available here?
So I think it's very interesting. I think in the US, a lot of companies are in the mid-market space. So they are companies that are doing anywhere from $50 million of revenue to about $1 billion of revenue. Interestingly, if you notice, most fintechs focus on really small companies. And then you have large banks that focus on the really large corporates. There's nobody who's catering to this, $50 million to $1 billion company and explaining to them what they can do in terms of leveraging their balance sheet or providing them supply chain finance. And that's a segment that we find very interesting. That's our natural segment. We go to these corporates, we talk to them about what we can do to kind of get supply chain finance done for them. More interestingly, I think what we're trying to do is also try to get a lot of these corporates managing their cash better. Credit is something that you do after you figure out you have a gap. How do you reduce that gap in your financing? How do you collect money faster? How do you pay out more efficiently? So we're really kind of trying to focus on companies in the US to tell them that how we can manage their cash for them better. So I think it's actually a really good time for us to be in the US right now, because I think we have this fear about, I went to Walmart yesterday, 2 days back, and actually could find, empty racks. So the supply chain shocks that are happening because of the Ukraine war, the Chinese COVID situation, I think all of this playing where businesses are no longer sure about what they took for granted about a quarter before, that things would just be all hunky-dory. I think that's all changing. So I think, I'm very excited. I'm very sorry to say that. I think it's a lot of trying times for everybody. But it's very exciting to come up with a solution that's actually very relevant right now to what US is going through.